Cam Smith winning a Wild Players Championship. So what can you take away from this 5-day event? Or are you throwing like most of it just out the window, Jason, because of the weather and the delays? I mean, a lot of luck went into play for these guys, depending on where they teed off.
Yeah, no doubt. So I think what you take from it are maybe the good things. You look at Cameron Smith and say, this is a guy who can beat some really good competition. This is a guy who down the stretch can play some really gutsy golf and win a big time event. So I take that from it and things of that ilk. Keegan Bradley played really well. Viktor Hovland might be the best player in the game if he doesn't have to chip at all, but when he has to chip, that short game is going to fail him down the stretch. What I don't take from it is things like Colin Morikawa and Xander Schauffele, Brooks Koepka, each of whom is teeing it up this week in the Valspar. They all missed the cut. They were all on the wrong side of the draw. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for this week. Doesn't matter for next year at the Players. Doesn't matter down the road at all.
Yeah, no one hates Viktor Hovland more than Daniel Berger today. That is for sure. Jeff, we talked about a lot last week where in the past, you look at the track record for a lot of these guys at TPC Sawgrass, they're going to have bad years. So you're probably not panicking either, seeing some of the big names not make the weekend.
No, exactly. I mean, it's a high variance event to begin with, and then you throw in whatever was happening, the blizzard down in Florida that happened this week, and it just creates like a weird environment. I mean, agree with Jason 100%. You have to give credit to the players who played well, and I think for the rest of this Florida swing too, like you can just add it. I mean, to players' history here. Another good result in Florida. I mean, certain players just play well on these types of courses because they're all very similar. A lot of water, a lot of pressure on approach and tee to green games. So Cam Smith, he has become sort of like the de facto like new Webb Simpson, just in terms of how good he is with his irons, just how clutch a putter he is. And it's something that you should be giving him full credit for, because we've already seen it this year earlier, when he won the Tournament of Champions, obviously. But this player is going to be competing on these types of courses, man, for the next 5-10 years or whatever, because he's just so good in that facet of his game that when he's even in moderate form, with his long irons and stuff, I mean, he's just a fantastic player on these types of setups. So,
well, Jeff, in terms of like this week at the Valspar, Viktor Hovland, Justin Thomas, both have the best odds to win this thing at plus 1,000. Do you prefer one over the other?
I do. And, Jason already sort of foreshadowed my answer here with, Viktor Hovland's, problems around the green. It's great that he's striping. He's absolutely striping the ball. It's incredible, some of the stats he's putting up, Viktor Hovland. But Justin Thomas is the more complete player. And you look at these two players' records in Florida, too. What has Justin Thomas already done? He's won at Honda. He's won at the Players. His record at the Valspar, it's got 2 missed cuts, but it's also got 3 top 20 finishes. He's also won an event. He's also won at Quail Hollow, at the PGA Championship in 2017, which I think sets up very, very similar to this week's test at Copperhead. Those two courses tend to be very correlated as well, just in terms of past winners, players who do well here. So Justin Thomas, he was T33 last week, but a late water ball there sort of plummeted him down a few spots. And his game was complete. He gained strokes on approach. He gained strokes off the tee, which he's done in a couple starts now. And he's gaining strokes around the green, which Hovland just isn't doing. So I would take Justin Thomas. I think Justin Thomas has gone over a year now without a win, and I think he's very ready to get back on track. And I like this setup for him this week.
Yeah, Jason, Hovland had some tremendous highs, including that ace on hole 8. I believe that was yesterday at the Players. But as you mentioned, there were some sloppy mistakes in there, too.
Yeah, really, around the greens. I mean, he was ranked 216th out of 217 on the PGA Tour in strokes gained around the greens. That's terrible. He needs to improve that part. Really, he's an anomaly in the game of golf right now, because you look at every other player in the top 10, you say they pretty much do everything pretty well. Maybe they have some strengths as opposed to others that they're a little more neutral on, but none of them have a big detriment, a big negative in their games like Viktor Hovland around the green. So it's really pretty inspiring, I guess, to those of us who struggle with parts of our games that, hey, he can become a top 5 player on the cusp of being number 1 in the world very, very soon. It's very possible. If indeed he can shore up that short game, he's going to be really good. As for Hovland versus JT this week, I'm going to ride the fence. I like each of them. I don't love each of them, especially at the current number they're opening at. Quite frankly, I'm fading the top of this board this week. I think it's another weird week. I think a lot of these guys are dead tired, running on fumes after a long Players Championship, and I'm going to go elsewhere instead.
Yeah, it feels like JT has really found another level just of like ball striking right now, and that was definitely on display at the Players. Jeff, your guy Louis, At plus 1,600 this week, T42 finish at the Players. Tell me why he's worth a look at this number. It's a good thing Reed's not here because he was very angry talking about Louis in our group exchange.
I mean, I'm not responsible for Reed getting on the Louis Oosthuizen trade last week. I don't think I mentioned him once last week, and I'm not taking the bait again this week. Look, pal, obviously we should not be betting Louis Oosthuizen at plus 1,600. Come on. I mean, like, we made our attempt at the Honda Classic. At least we're getting like plus 2,200 that week. This is ridiculous. You've got Dustin Johnson at plus 1,800. You've got Hatton and Fitzpatrick there at plus 2,500. You cannot bet Louis this week, obviously. Even I'm going to go over there and say that, and I'll be very clear on that. But there are some players up here who, if you're not interested in taking like a Hovland or a JT at plus 1,000. I mean, I think Hatton is probably my favorite at plus 2,500. It's very close between him and Fitzpatrick. Both guys playing extremely well, but Hatton is just a player who, when he gets it all going, I mean, I just like his upside more. He's been a bit more of a prolific winner. His long irons are very good. Like, I think he sets up very well for this week's test too. So Tara Hatton was, you saw him getting frustrated down the stretch. I think that might blow a few people off him, but that's just who he is. He does that when he's playing well too. So I think Hatton at plus 2,500, especially when we're comparing him to like Louis and even Xander down there at plus 1,400, I think is overvalued. I think you're getting really good value in going with one of those Englishmen this week.
All right, Jason, I know you've mentioned here live on the Sweat before. You're just like you're not betting Louis Oosthuizen, but is there someone else like around that number you like?
Yeah, so first things first, I like Louis this week. I like everything about Louis. He's had finishes of 17th or better in each of his last 4 starts at the Valspar. He has made a home in Ocala, Florida, which isn't too far away from Tampa. Everything should be a little familiar for him. I like everything about him except that number that Jeff pointed out, 16-1, plus 1,600 for Louis Oosthuizen this week. No thank you. Not for a guy that hasn't won. I mean, it's been, a decade and a half now. He's playing events in the U.S. He still hasn't won one of them. So until he wins one, I'm going to stay away. There's not much win equity there. I don't mind the Tyrrell Hatton call. I like that a lot. I think he's playing really well. You look at other guys, and this could be another event, just as we've seen from the Players in recent years, just as we've seen from the API in recent years. The international players tend to do pretty well in Florida. So you look at a Tommy Fleetwood also. You look at a Shane Lowry, guys who hit the ball really well last week. I could see each of them having another good week. But again, these guys are running on fumes. And for me, It's less about the course fit and more about their fitness and how they feel going into this week. The guys who aren't that tired, the guys who look like they've got a little bit of energy, I think should have a good week. And I wish I was there, and I was thinking about going, but if I was there, that's what I would spend all day Wednesday doing, walking up and down the range, walking around the golf course and seeing which guys sort of have a little energy, have a little pep in their step, and which guys are just dead tired, ready to go take a nap.
All right, so which ones do you expect to have pep in their step? Which ones do you expect to have energy? Like, who is your pick to win this thing?
Okay, my pick to win this week, I don't love it. I'm usually a lot more confident in my pre-tournament pick, and this is basically just based on the number, but before missing the cut last week, Gary Woodland had a pair of top 5 finishes at both the Honda and the API. Missed the cut last week, the wrong side of the draw, all that stuff. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. In fact, as I said before, I'd almost rather a guy who missed the cut than one who's sticking around playing golf through Monday evening. And so Woodland is hitting the ball much better. He's confident. We know he can win against a big field. And like I said, love the number for him this week. All
right, Jeffrey, do you love your pick?
I mean, I don't love the number on my pick, but I am going to go with Justin Thomas at plus 1,000. I just think this is a play. It's been over a year for Justin Thomas to win on the PGA Tour. We're talking about a player who's got 14 wins already on the PGA Tour in his career. He's not even 30. He's still not even really close to sniffing 30. And I just think he's ready. Everything on his game seems to be clicking. Again, his approach stats from last week would have been a lot better if not for that late water ball. So I think Justin Thomas is set up to win here. I'm not too worried about the fatigue. Again, I mean, he plays in Florida all the time. It's a short trip. I think Justin Thomas probably sweeps the board this week, and we can talk about all these players under like 5,000 that we want, but I do feel like it's time that we're getting kind of a shorter winner here, and Justin Thomas can be my pick.